Hey, how's it going? This is Brimmer from Sugarbombed, and today I'm doing a new series called How Does It Hold Up? Basically, in this series, I look at an old game and see how its gameplay holds up from a modern perspective. What still stands out about the game, whether it be graphics, models, music, audio, levels, or whatever else. The first game I'll be looking at is Medal of Honor Pacific Assault. It's currently on the house at Origin, so if you want to pick up the game for free, just head over to Origin and link below, and you can keep Medal of Honor Pacific Assault forever. We don't get any kickbacks from this, we don't have a relationship with EA, but we just want our subscribers, our friends to have free games. Medal of Honor Pacific Assault was released on November 4th, 2004, to pretty moderate acclaim. It wasn't cutting edge or breaking the norm at the time, so it received pretty high reviews at the time, but nothing significant. It was developed by EA LA, which was later called Danger Close, which closed down in 2013 after the failure that was Medal of Honor Warfighter. The story of Medal of Honor Pacific Assault is pretty basic. You play as a US Marine called Private Thomas Cullen. You start off as a Marine recruit in San Diego. You then head over to Pearl Harbor, make an atoll as a Marine Raider, Guadalcanal, and finally Tarawa Atoll, and that's where you end the game. Now, during the game, the story is actually pretty decent. In many ways, it's a buddy story. You and your best friend, who's from New Jersey, try to survive the campaigns that you have to endure. But you also have your squad, which consists of a medic, a sharpshooter, and another guy that I'm completely forgetting. You command these guys through multiple battles during these 3 major campaigns, and you look after them and they look after you. There's a huge emphasis on them being your mates and keeping together and trying to survive during war. And to this effect, it develops pretty well. You feel a connection to the characters, even though the only real connection you have to them is during the pre-rendered cutscenes and the occasional piece of dialogue. Medal of Honor Pacific Assault has a huge emphasis on buddies. It's not Pearl Harbor. There's no romantic elements in this. This is war. Your best friend is on your right and your left, and they put a huge emphasis on that. They don't try to develop a terrible story about back home or what I'm fighting for. They put a huge emphasis on set pieces and your buddies. Those moments where you're totally surrounded, but you've got to win, you've got to keep your buddies alive. You've got to get the corpsman, you've got to carry your buddy on your shoulder, drop him off, save his life, and go back to the battle. That's where the story shines. In those levels where you're totally fucked, but you have to take care of your buddy, and your buddy takes care of you. Where your buddies are yelling at the top of their lungs, firing their SMGs, their rifles, looking for you guidance. It's a great story moment when this happens. And to its credit, it happens quite a bit. So, even though it's not a heavily intriguing story, it does make a great game, and it really helps the levels shine. My only critique of the story is it makes a huge emphasis on making you the hero. For example, in the Pearl Harbor mission, not only do you survive multiple strafing aircrafts, get on a PT boat, shoot down 20 to 50 Japanese aircrafts, you get off the PT boat, swim into the breached area of the ship, activate the counter-flooding so it doesn't sink, save 6 lives, including the XO of the ship, go to the top deck, shoot down another 50 aircraft on the 50 cal, then go on the quad and shoot down another 50, saving your ship and possibly USS Nevada. So it really puts a huge emphasis on making you the hero, which is fun, but story-wise it's not realistic. So if you're looking for a semi-realistic story, there are moments where you're like, okay, I'm kind of out of it now. This isn't realistic. But besides that, I'd give the story a solid 8 out of 10. Visually, today, the game isn't great. It doesn't hold up visually. If you play this game, you're gonna see things that are downright ugly. For example, at the time, the animations are great, and some of the animations still are great and memorable. However, today they are almost inhuman. The facial animations are great, but the walking animations are terrible. Now, this is only for pre-rendered cutscenes, but gameplay, the animations aren't too bad. The models for weapons are pretty good, nothing memorable. However, I do love the textures of the weapons. Now, obviously they don't hold up today because there's no 1K texture packs, but visually the textures have a lot of effort in them. You can actually see small details in these textures. Now, this is a very old game. It's 12 years old now. But at the time, visually, it was pretty good looking. Compared to games back in 2002 and 2003, this game was pretty damn beautiful. And for certain elements, there are. but mostly isn't. The water looks terrible by modern standards. Backgrounds of levels are static images, so not that attractive. So visually the game doesn't stand up as much. You can still enjoy it, the visuals won't affect the game, but of course it's been 12 years now. You can't, actually 13 years if you include development time, so you can't expect them to have an absolutely gorgeous game for 13 years on. But I will say textures of weapons are great, and I commend them for having such great textures for the time and for the current. Not in the level of quality, but the level of detail. The audio of the game is actually pretty decent, mostly. If you're looking at the music of the game, it's fucking great. One of the great things about Medal of Honor in all the games is the music. Now, my favourite would be Medal of Honor Frontlines, when they had a whole orchestra and a vocal group singing the audio, but the audio in Medal of Honor Pacific Assault is that same caliber of quality. So if you're looking at the music level, it's great. Now, if we're talking about weapons effects, it's a bit half and half. They aren't that realistic because of the recording equipment they had at the time and the compression levels, but they're okay. They're passable. They're not memorable at all. They're not similar to how the weapons are really fired. It's not extremely memorable. The voice acting is on a similar level. It's not terrible. It's not too memorable either. Now, one of the big issues I've had with the game is a few audio bugs here and there where the audio for a scene wouldn't play, but mostly the biggest annoying bug is overriding audio. So for example, you have your drill sergeant in a jeep, he's yelling at you in his jeep while the jeep is running, but if he talks, you can't hear the engine. Once he stops talking, you can hear the engine. So they've left a few annoying bugs in the game, but otherwise the audio is pretty average, excluding the music, which I still claim is pretty damn good. And of course, to end the review, I'm going to talk about the gameplay. Now, the gameplay and level design are fucking great. There are a few reviews at the time complaining that the level design wasn't unique. Now, early on in the missions, they're pretty restrictive. They're very close quarters gameplay. You don't really have much room to maneuver or play around. But the more levels you go on, the better the gameplay and level design gets. And one of my favourite pieces about the level design is the set pieces. For example, I love the Pearl Harbor mission. I have some critiques about it, but I love it. It's fucking memorable. How it starts off, you get an introduction, you get shown around Pearl Harbor, then the Japanese Zero comes in, everyone reacts. It's great, it's fucking fun, be it a little restrictive. Later on in the game, the level design gets even better, and the set pieces too. One of my favourite set pieces is you're getting attacked by Japanese on Guadalcanal. You have to hold this ridge no matter what. You control some artillery, command the artillery, and you fire the artillery at the oncoming Japanese. It's fucking great. And probably one of the best and most memorable set pieces in the game is when you have to start as a tail gunner for a naval bomber. Then the pilot gets knocked out, you have to go in the pilot seat, and you play as the pilot. It's one of the most memorable missions I've ever had in a game, and to its credit, the gameplay is pretty good. Not realistic, but pretty damn good and fun. This is the same kind of set pieces that Call of Duty later used in Call of Duty 4. So gameplay wise, it's pretty damn fun when it comes to level design. The actual gameplay can be a little repetitive. If we're talking about general combat, it isn't that unique. The damage models are alright, but not great, so But one of the things I do love about the gameplay is if you get wounded, you hit the deck. You can call a corpsman, and hopefully the corpsman will get to you. If the corpsman doesn't get to you, you'll get stabbed by a Japanese bayonet, which is quite a graphic and unfortunate way to go. But you have a limited number of revives. So if you take too many revives, you cannot get revived anymore in that whole level. So you've got to really conserve them, especially on the higher difficulties. Of course, you have health packs and ammo packs, like any of the older Medal of Honor games. So, gameplay, it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent for the time, it's pretty fun. Level design and set pieces are fucking great. So for the time, gameplay is pretty damn good, and actually I will claim the gameplay still holds up. It is a little repetitive, and if this game released with modern graphics, modern audio, modern level design, it would still be critiqued for how restrictive the level design can be. But overall, gameplay is great. If you go back and buy the game or get it for free, I bet $5 that you'll still enjoy it. To end my review, Medal of Honor Pacific Assault is a pretty old game now, but it still holds up. It's one of those games that, while the graphics aren't great, you can still play it. It doesn't affect your gameplay experience. It's not like Dwarf Fortress where you can't really visually see what's going on, so it's harder to become a new player for that game. It's pretty easy to become a new player for this game. It does have its bugs here and there. It's not a perfect game, and it wasn't a perfect game for the time either, but it was a great game for the time, and it's still a pretty damn good game. It's a great game to pass some time and complete in a few days. So I highly recommend you get this game because it still holds up. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm hoping to make this into a series of videos in the future. If you want to see me play Medal of Honor Pacific Assault while doing some commentary and uploading to YouTube on 1080p 60 FPS, there's a link in the description below, and you can vote yes or no on if you want me to do this. Don't forget to head over to Sugarbombed 2.0. It's recently been revamped with a lot of new features, a better UI, and a better forum in general. If you liked the video, consider giving it a like and subscribing. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And this has been Boomer from Sugarbombed, signing off.